How would you like to have a full or part-time business that allows you to create a flexible work schedule around your busy lifestyle? Would you like to earn between 60 and 500,000 annually working from the comfort of your own home? If so, then virtual wholesaling may be the business for you. Contact us at reoauctionacademy.com and find out how to get a jump start on building a cash flowing machine without the headaches of dealing with contractors and homeowners. With an investment starting as low as $7,000, you can be well on your way to living the virtual investing lifestyle of your choosing.
Welcome to Flipping Out with your host, Paul Ezell, your leader in virtual wholesaling and investing in today's real estate market. Each week, he will be joined by some of the biggest players in the real estate space who will share their experiences, knowledge, insight, and tips for making it big in the industry. And now, here's your host, Paul Ezell.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Flipping Out. I have with me a friend of mine from a mastermind group. Great dude, awesome guy, Rafael Cortez. Some of you guys will know him. You've probably seen him on YouTube. He's got his own coaching program and everything, but I'm going to let him talk more than I'm going to talk. I'm going to ask some questions. So Rafael, why don't we just dive into this and you kind of tell us how you got your start in real estate? Because you're a young kid, which is great, but tell us how you got your start, you know, where you're going, trials, tribulations, everything, wherever you want to go with this. Let's go with it.
Sounds good. I don't know about young, man. I'm hitting 39 this month, so I'm getting up there.
You look like 29.
Thanks. So I started I got started actually in 2009. I bought my first flip when the prices were that sweet spot where they were somewhat tanked, somewhat getting better. So I didn't see a lot of the dark stuff that happened. I was doing mortgages back then, 2007, 2008, and I was building another business, which was a transportation business. So I was doing a couple of different things kind of like simultaneously, but I ended up jumping into real estate in 2009, bought my first flip. And then it's almost like a rite of passage. Most of the people that I talk to either, lose their butts on that first flip, or they break even, and, it's just a learning process. And sure enough, I was on that list. So I broke even on that one, but as I went through it, I did a couple more, did a lot better. And then I came across the whole concept of wholesaling real estate. And I picked that. I'd rather flip a contract than flip a property. I still do rehabs. We're closing on one tomorrow in Chandler. So I still do them, but I'll cherry pick.
Pick and choose, right? Pick and choose.
Pick and choose. Yeah.
I mean, that's the way.
It's one of the things that I like the most about, the space that I'm at, right? When you go direct to seller, you have the opportunity to, pick and choose what you want to keep, what you want to, flip, what you want to, whatever. So it's more, front and center of the opportunity. So.
No, absolutely. I mean, look, you getting in there and starting and only breaking even and continuing in real estate is a good thing. A lot of people, lose on their first deal, or if they break even, they quit, they give up. You didn't have any thought probably of quitting or giving up. You were diving into this business full tilt would be my guess. Am I right with that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. So I had been, the first business that I launched, I guess a little bit of background, right? I was a fireman. And I wanted to launch a different business. So I opted for non-emergency medical transportation, which is a wheelchair and stretcher patient van. I was just exposed to that industry while I was at the firehouse. I was like, all right, cool. Let's get this thing rolling. I started by myself. I got one vehicle, managed to land contracts with the state and a couple of good solid contracts that really brought value to the company. So I was doing that stuff, but I didn't enjoy it. Like, I didn't like the transportation business. I was just kind of chasing the dollar.
Yeah.
I went through that for a while, put some cash together, and I ended up selling that business, by the way, in 2014. So I ran with that and then the real estate stuff, for a while together. But throughout the process, it's like it just became one of those things, right? Like, okay, cool. This is strictly, just operational. I'm not really like, I started to hate the days where I would have to come into the office and do that kind of stuff on the transportation side. And then I knew that I don't know if I like the thrill of the hunt for on the real estate side, seeing and getting creative with, deal structures and whatnot. I mean, that was a lot more enticing than running transportation and logistics.
I totally get that. Look, I mean, we could be way more creative in this business with what we do. I mean, there's so many different ways to skin a cat in this business, from whether you want to get into wholesaling, fix and flipping, buying and owner financing, right? That's a whole other thing. We're purchasing from a seller directly through owner financing. I mean, you could be real creative with deals to do all kinds of different deal structures. So you're doing mostly wholesaling right now, right? You're kind of like us, I think, doing a lot of wholesaling, right? And you do some fix flips, you cherry pick them.
Yeah, we cherry pick, fix and flips. Most of the stuff that we do is wholesale. I own a brokerage, so anything that doesn't really come through the pipeline as a distressed property, we can always send it over to the broker side. So I have multiple ways of monetizing on the leads that come in. And I have a CEO Pulse, which is an organizational psychology practice for business coaching consulting.
Let's talk about that too. Let's get a little more in depth there. So what does that involve? And was that your degree? Did you go to college for that?
Yeah. So I became you have to go through general psychology first, and then you specialize in something. I picked business, right? So the official title of that is industrial organizational psychologist. Basically, it's a business psychologist. You put people and systems together and make it work. Yeah. A lot of the like the conversations that pop up when people are talking about culture, people are talking about synergy between the right butts and the right seats and all that stuff. They stem from organizational psychology.
And understand, what people's strengths are, what they'll be successful at, which ones. I mean, a lot of us in this business, we just hire people, we give them a video or training or two and expect them to run with it. But if that's not something that's their specialty, you're just setting yourself up to fail in this business, right? It's getting the right people in the right seats to be able to do this.
Yeah. So what happens, I mean, there's a lot of attrition out there, right? Especially in real estate because it's so challenging. And I see it all the time with coaching students too. So there's going to be a lot of people that fall out. The rate of fallout is it's huge.
Extraordinary.
So what happens? What happens is that everybody will say the right things coming into it, right? But we're psychologically wired to deal with certain things better than others. Meaning that and if I want to simplify it a little bit, we can go into like the like a general disc, assessment, or you have drivers, you have influencers, supportives, and analytics. So it's just different buckets of behaviors, right? But we're all wired with some major ones, and there's a ton of sub behaviors that play into it, and that's a whole can of worms. I mean, we can spend probably 2 days talking about that alone. But sure. The point I'm trying to make is that we come predisposed to be good at certain things just because of the way that we're wired, right? So some people are really good at talking to other people and being social, and then some people are just introvert. It's just the nature that we come out of the box that way. Right. If you take that and then you add existential experiences, just growing up through life, and then learning and behaviors and borrowing stuff from perspectives from relatives and people around you, you mix the two, and now you have a personality, right? Right. What happens is that people will have a natural tendency, so a natural given tendency of being, for example, social, right? But everything around them has been I don't know, they live in a household where they're all accountants, and they're they're used to working solo. So it'll not really reinforce their natural strengths. And most people hire based off of that. Everybody's going to show up to your hiring appointment saying the right things. You may like him right out of the gate and whatnot. 3 months later, and it happens every 3 months into it, you'll see the attrition. You'll see people start losing interest if they're not wired, if they're not a fit for that role. The reason for that is that we can adapt, but after a period of time, we get exhausted of adapting. You know what I mean? To that behavior that's required by that role. And that, it's one of the things that happens in hiring. I kind of went into a tangent there, but I think it's very important to realize that, as we're hiring people and bringing people into the companies.
It really is. Like you said, if you're constantly working to fit a role, you're not necessarily going to be comfortable, and you won't necessarily enjoy it. When you don't enjoy your job, you're not going to do it at a high enough level, or as high as your boss may want you to do it, right? It's getting the right people in the right seats to fit personality wise to make them most successful. I mean, it's looking at it, coaching. Like I coached travel baseball for 10 plus years, and It's getting the right players in the right positions so that defensively you're going to make the right plays and not make mistakes, right? I mean, it's very similar. Sports is life. Life is sports. You can kind of fit everything in there together, but it's getting the right people in the right seats, make sure the organization is the most successful. So that's pretty interesting with your background there.
Well, that's how they last. That's how they last. So anybody can adapt and do a great job at, a task, right? Tasks are trainable. So people are going to learn the task, do the task, and get it done and whatnot. But the sustainability of that role, of that employee in that role, really is dependent on their ability to stay there because their wiring, calls for it.
Yes.
So it's more of a long-term thing than a short-term thing, hiring based off of natural behavioral strengths. So anyways, that's one of the things that play into that kind of stuff. I've been talking to Matt. I want to do a talk about that at the family.
That's definitely something you should talk about, that, because I think everybody would be interested in that. Everybody in our group would definitely like that. I think anybody in general, just in the audience, is interested in this kind of thing and understanding. There's a lot of people listening that are growing the real estate business, right? And this is the kind of advice that's really going to help them get the right people in the right place. Even with VAs, right? When you're hiring these VAs, people are wired 100%. Differently too. It's getting the right match for you in that as well.
Yeah, I mean, the conversation of people don't want to work or people don't last. How many times does it happen? It happens all the time. Every time we get together, there's people losing staff, and I think a lot of it, and it's not fail proof, right? So it's not like you're gonna hire somebody based off of that and then keep them forever. But the attrition rate drops, so they're not gonna leave as fast, basically. So
which helps a business owner for sure.
100%. Yeah, exactly. So that's the background on organizational psychology. And again, it's I have 4 businesses right now. That's one of them. Real estate coaching, where I spend a lot of time just coaching students on wholesaling. We'll talk about creative financing and fix and flip and all that stuff. But the main topic is really wholesaling, capitalizing on that strategy right there.
And I think that's the most important thing to teach them to begin with. If you learn how to wholesale, you can learn the other aspects of at a later point, but that's it's kind of like the fundamentals, the basics with it. And with your coaching and your organizational psychology background, can you sometimes tell if a student's going to be successful just by having conversations with them in the beginning?
Yeah. It's I mean, you'll see it. And well, I think more importantly, it's not that if people want to be successful, it doesn't matter if you're not wired for it, because the tenacity is there, and you'll figure out a way
to be driven.
Yeah, exactly. The drive is going to be the main thing. When somebody's driven, they'll take action, right? And at the end of the day, action is what solves all problems. Action and sales.
Yes.
And action and sales. But so you have that. So if they're driven, if the attitude is there, the behaviors, we can work around that kind of stuff. We'll plug people into their business that are better than them at whatever they're not good at, whatever their deficiency is. We'll fill it in somehow. The key thing though, it's I guess when you have both, when you have the background, the psychology background, and then you tie it into coaching, is to find those gaps. I think that's it's really one of the things that I love the most about having the ability to mix the two, right? It's I'll have conversations with students and then we're able to find the gaps. Some people have absolutely no need in the space of lead generation or social awareness or any of they're really good at that kind of stuff. And then some people are just
absent of it.
Exactly, they have no idea what that is. But finding those gaps and really working with that, I think it's one of the biggest things that comes into play there.
Absolutely. I mean, attrition you talk about in the business, attrition with students too. It's amazing how many people fall off immediately, and really quickly. And that blows my mind because you're putting a chunk of change down to learn something. And both you and I have educational programs. I think you got yours is more your traditional direct mail, where we're teaching people how to buy bank-owned properties, online auctions, that kind of thing. But same type of people as far as real estate investors and the same kind of objectives. But it's amazing. I swear the fallout rate's close to 80-90% of people who just don't want to do, once they find out what they have to do, they almost want to stop doing it from jump. It blows my mind.
Yeah, I was looking at a stat, and this is in real estate throughout, right across the board. You're talking realtors, you're talking professionals, people in real estate. So So real estate entrepreneurs, there's a dropout rate of 83% within the first year. People who jump into real estate, they want to be in real estate entrepreneurs, they will fall out about 83. The stat is 83% will drop out after, like during or right after the first year, right?
That makes
when you're
so much sense. I mean, it has a 90+% fail rate overall when you look at it. I mean, most business, I think the worst business probably out there is restaurant business, right? It's the hardest business to run. It's so stressful finding people and staff. And this is not the same stress, but man, it is. Like, I find so many of our students, the biggest thing, you probably have the same thing from your students, is they want to know how to evaluate a property properly, right? So coming up with ARV, coming up with the amount of repairs, and that's where people really struggle. And we try to give formulas for that to make it a little bit simpler for them. But of course, there's no one size fit all formula. So I think that's a big reason we have such a dropout and failure rate in this business and stuff. But man, when you get it, the people that get it and understand values and do that, they do extraordinarily well in this business. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, analysis is going to be, I mean, it really is one of the biggest pillars of wholesaling, right? Looking at a property, being able to analyze it and then figure out, okay, cool, what can I do with this? And for example, one of the things that I'll train or I'll coach, and we do this in my company as well. Whenever we look at a deal, we go to a seller appointment. We'll have multiple ways of structuring that deal. And that's pre-work. It's not at the appointment. It's not, let me call you back and see what I can do. It's once we have an appointment set or a conversation set with a seller, we have 4 different ways of structuring that deal based on how the conversation can go. So it's kind of like pick your own adventure type of deal, right? We always start with a wholesale offer. And sometimes for whatever reason, maybe the pain or the problem is not big enough for the wholesale offer and it's not going to pan out. We will pivot. So we'll take a pivot right there and then into an option offer where we can offer a little higher. The numbers are going to be a little different. So we'll pivot from a wholesale offer to an option offer. And if the option offer where we offer a little higher doesn't pan out, we'll move to a seller financing structure.
Right.
All right. So we'll try to pitch creative financing. So we're pivoting three ways before we actually get into the conversation. Well, I mean, we're already having a conversation about selling your house. We happen to own a real estate brokerage. We can do something for you, at a discounted price. So we'll find
worst case scenario.
Multiple ways worst case scenario. And then, you have 4 different solutions. If you really want to get crazy with that kind of stuff, you start adding novations and all kinds of stuff into it. But at a basic level, there's multiple ways of structuring deals when you're going to seller appointments.
It's key because you need to have multiple tools in your tool belt. There's too many people that go out there and say they only want to do creative financing deals. Well, that kind of limits you to what your buyer pool is, right? What you can get from. Whereas if you're willing to do a wholesale or, if they're willing to do some terms, changes everything. And everybody's different, right? Some people just want to get the heck out of the property. Some people want a number. They have a number in their head that they want and they need to get that. And you can give it to them potentially with time, over time. Depending on what your deal structure is and depending if there's equity you can build in it by fixing it up. Maybe you turn it into a fix and flip where they're basically owner financing to fix and flip for you and you're just coming up with the repair values. So there's all kinds of different ways to skin a cat for sure. But having all those tools in the tool belt, I'm glad you guys teach that. That's super important to be able to teach the students and helps them big time.
One thing that's helped us out a lot too with attrition. This is also within the company, right? Not just students, but it's working on I'll spend half the time working on the mindset and the belief, right? The fact that you can actually achieve these things. Now, granted, one thing that we have to take into account is that, for example, most of our students are coming in from a 9 to 5, right? And a lot of the students, I'm talking 90% plus, have never gotten a lump sum of cash. Like a lot of these people are going through, 0 deals to 1 deal or first deal and whatnot, and then taking off from there. So the financial thermostat is not dialed in there, right? They're used to getting, $1,500, $1,000, every 2 weeks, or whatever they're earning on a 9 to 5. So having the concept of $15,000 for one property, it's still kind of hard to believe. And people will do anything. It's just human nature, but we'll do anything to prove ourselves right. So if we feel like, no, you know what, it's not doable. I can't do this. I'm not wired for this. This is not my thing. I don't have the ability for this. We will find stuff to self-sabotage. So it's one of the things that I come across quite frequently with students, and it's a lot of the time that is spent in the coaching stuff. It's in that space. It's in the mindset space. The pragmatic stuff, the step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, that thing is gonna come, right? It's all in the videos. It's all in the 1, 2, 3. We can fine tune and pull levers and push buttons and make this happen. If you're in a different market, we'll figure out a way to make that that analysis work based on your needs and changes and whatnot. But the internal battle, I think, is one of the ones that's that's where most people are losing the fight. You know what I mean? On that belief and on that mindset, which is very
battle inner demons. I agree with you. I mean, it's like we all got them with different things in life, but mindset is the key. It's like when you get into January, everybody talks about New Year's resolutions, and New Year's resolutions always drove me nuts, because most people say, well, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And that's great that you put those things in there and you do your list. Those people just put them on.
Have you ever been to the gym? Have you ever been to the gym on January 1st?
Oh my God, it's insane.
Or 2nd, yes.
Yeah. For the month of January is when I used to skip going to the gym because it was so mobbed and so crowded. But what you got to do is get yourself into you have direction, right? Now you got to set yourself on a path. How do you do that? If I'm going to go to the gym three days a week, how do I accomplish that and still do what I need to do within my schedule, right? So if you set things up to do things accordingly and prepare yourself for success, the mindset like you're talking about, that's how it'll lead to success. Otherwise, New Year's resolutions, you could just toss them out the window. And I learned this the hard way, doing it when I was younger. Now, when I have very few things that I set up for each year. There's a few certain goals I want to do, and I have a roadmap on how I'm going to do it. And I try not to vary from that, right? Because otherwise I'm just going to fail. The truth. Yeah, it is hard.
Yeah, it's direction is key, man. Direction is key. You got to have, and it may sound cliche, right? You read it in just about every self-improvement book out there. You hear it at seminars and whatnot. But direction and having a vision of where you want to head is crucial. One thing that I found out, and it really just surprised me when I realized it, was that most people don't have a clear direction. Most people don't have a vision of where they want to head, of what they like, what they enjoy. We have this one thing that it's super simple, man, and I think it's the best indicator out there. I haven't found anything better than that. If you know of anything better, let me know. But it's joy. It's a sense of joy. Not necessarily elated or happiness or bliss or utopia or any of that stuff, right? But if you have a sense of joy, if you have a smile on your face when you're doing when you're going to work, when you're doing whatever you're supposed to be doing, and then it's paying you, and you have a smile on your face and you have a sense of joy, that's a directional cue, right? Okay, you're on the right path. Yeah. So one of the biggest things for me is, and I adopted this years ago, is it's looking for that sense of joy. If I'm being pulled by that sense of joy, I know it's somehow, some way lined up to my truth, to my me, right? Most people don't know what that is. If you ask somebody, okay, what do you enjoy? What do you, as an individual? 80% of the time I'll get something. I love going to the park because my kids like it, because, this and that. And it's somebody else's, right? It's external. It's not an internal driver. Most people don't know their internal drivers, and I know I'm probably, digging a rabbit hole here, but it's, I think once you tap into the stuff that really bring you joy from an intrinsic level, from the inside, you can use that to paint the picture of what you want and have that direction. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. Law of attraction, the vision board, these all things that are total drivers, right? When you put that vision board up, and if it's something you want, you're attracted to, you're going to try to drive yourself to that, in that direction.
Right.
Just makes total sense.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest, I think, benefits of doing something like a vision, and just complete transparency. When I first came across the idea of the law of attraction, the idea of vision boards and gratitude and all that, I thought it was all stupid and a waste of time.
Me too.
Honestly.
Me too.
I was like, no, that doesn't work. I gotta go sit down and then do this other crap that I don't enjoy.
Right.
Because that's life. That's what we put bread on the table.
That's right.
But it's really not, right. It's different when you tap into that space. It just puts you in a better energetic space. It puts you in a better
good vibration, right? And good vibration.
Yeah, and you perform based on that. When you walk into a room, your energy is different. People will gravitate towards you, and it happens all the time, right? How many times, and for the audience, right, just ask yourself, how many times have you been in a room and somebody walks in and then you just get a bad vibe? Or vice versa. You're in a room and somebody walks in and then, oh, I don't know why, but I like that person.
Right.
That's exactly what we're talking about. So a lot of that, comes from that space of finding that sense of joy, pursuing that sense of joy, creating that vision, and it's going to create that energy behind it. It's going to, pull you, as opposed to you trying to push this thing to the next deal closing or whatever you're working on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And speaking of closings, we're both working on closings. We were talking about that today. I was a little delayed in getting this podcast started, but you're in Arizona, you're in Phoenix market, right?
Right.
And is that your main market? Is that your basic market, or do you go outside of that market?
No, we opened up, I have multiple campaigns. I have a couple campaigns going national. I have a lot of emphasis on the West Coast, higher price points, especially in the PPC side. And then we do cold calling in a couple of states. We do cold calling right now. I think we're doing 3 states. Okay. So we will implement different marketing strategies, but yeah, we're tapping into different sources.
And you're not just doing residential, you're doing a commercial deal. You got a big one going on here. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Of course. If the crazy thing is, you'll start looking for single family residences. And if you close with this question, oh, okay. I understand you don't want to sell that property. Do you have anything else that you would like to sell? We're buying all kinds of properties throughout the US. A lot of the times they'll give you, oh, you know what? I have this 8-plex in Georgia or whatever. And you're calling somebody from San Francisco or something. I don't know, but they'll open up to different conversations, and we find a lot of deals that way. So we'll market mainly for SFR, single family. We'll do just about every campaign out there, right? The 60-day lates, mobile homes, and whatever, 8-plex, multifamily. But when you ask that, it just kind of opens everything up. Anyways, we found right now we're working on a deal right now, which should be getting settled this week. And it's interesting. It's 2 parcels. It's an 8-plex on one parcel and a commercial building on the other. So we're going to do a double closing on that. We're going to take it down because the highest and best use for that. And this is getting creative, right? So we have to walk the property, see what would kind of fit the space that we were in, and what's the highest and best use. Right now, that property is being used as a sober living facility. So it's got a specific use. So if you pencil out the numbers, it's a value add property right now, just because they're not really charging what they're supposed to be charging as far as the ownership goes. Right. But if we switch the use to Airbnb, which is down the street from ASU, I mean, it's a perfect spot, perfect location. The numbers pencil out and then some. So it's about, kind of crafting. Once you're in that space, you don't set off this way, right? But if you come across a lead, if you come across an opportunity, sit there with a little bit, for a little bit, and get creative with it. You can make deals work. So this one is going to be, we're looking at a good hefty double close on this property coming through, hopefully at the end of the week here. So.
And that was just being creative, thinking outside the box, like what is the highest and best use of this property? Because it isn't as this is. We're not going to make nearly as much if we try to sell it like this. Whereas if we rezone it, turn it into something else, you're going to be able to make a heck of a lot more. And that's smart.
Yeah, that's smart. You have the opportunity to create, room for wealth is there. If you pay attention, if you talk to the right person. For example, this one, we're drilled at the mastermind, right? Who, not how, who, not how, who, not how. It becomes one of my life mottos, like who, not how. I don't want to deal with managing Airbnbs. I don't want to deal with, I don't even deal with rehabs. It's, in terms of managing the crews and all that stuff, I bring people in who are going to partner up with me, and we'll set off, we'll go halves on the P&L and whatnot. And they have the responsibility of managing the crews. And then I have the responsibility of showing up and taking a picture with it afterwards after they're done. so I can make it an Instagram official. But great. No, it's partnering up with people who they're better than me. That's the reality. On this one, the product that we're looking at, my director of operations, he manages Airbnbs. So that's his thing. So bring him on, partner up with him, and then set this up in a way that we can set up Airbnbs. He's part of the deal. He's managing Airbnbs, and I'm still making a profit out of the thing when I don't have to do, sacrifice my joy and have a sad face because I have to manage Airbnbs.
Yeah, because it is a sad face managing Airbnbs. I have one. I actually just sold it, and I'm buying another one somewhere else, and I'm going to be doing another Airbnb. But I have somebody else manage them. I had a super host. I'm going to probably have another super host do this one as well, because I don't want to deal with it. I just want whatever I can profit from it and utilize it whenever I want to. But it's a pain point, right? It's one of those things. I used to like doing rehabs when I first initially got into the business. Now I don't enjoy the process. It's tedious. Too many factors right now between shortage of labor, shortage of materials, and the length of time it's going at here now. It's hurting the profits in the time because we're have more interest. The only thing that's helping us is that prices are going up to offset that a little bit, right? But that's not my joy either. So we're trying to utilize students we do joint venture with. We kind of teach them how to do the whole rehab process and what it's about, and let them run with it. Let them learn sometimes from the school of hard knocks, and then assist them with it as need be. But yeah, it's not a joy for me to do that process.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really is it's the evolution, right? Of the we begin as I started as a flipper and then wholesaler, right? It's usually the other way around. But
I did the exact same way. I flipped before I wholesale. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw did it happen to you? I saw a settlement statement, and then I saw the big profits that the wholesaler made. I was like, this is almost as big as my profit. And
Exactly.
Yeah. I didn't catch on until I think it was third deal, because I don't know what, I would take the settlement statement. I'm a high driver. I don't really pay too close attention to details.
Right.
I'll break it down. It's all right, cool. Look at the bottom number. And then I decided to look at the breakdown of things. Wait a minute. What is this thing I'm seeing here?
Yeah. Trend there.
That opened up a whole new pathway for opportunity there.
Absolutely. And that's, like I said, it's the best way to do it, because it gives you a million different ways to skin a cat, because you can decide, I'm going to wholesale this one, or you know what, I might be able to wholesale this thing for 30 grand, but I might be able to fix and flip this thing and make $1.25 in this market and go for that. Right. Or wholesale it. Right. Wholesaling has been a lot of what we're doing lately, just because the market is ripe for it. Partly because of material shortage. Like if I'm going to do a kitchen, I'm going to do a bathroom, I want it to be all in stock, Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever that company is that has that stuff. Yeah. So it's quick and moves. Speed is the key, right? And wholesale and take that 20, 30, 40K profit rather than the big one on the fix and flip, and move it quicker and just do more deals with that. So yeah, wholesaling has been big for us. Have you guys been doing a bit of that as well?
Oh yeah. It's actually, I used to do bigger and more in-depth flips where we would come in, and then, you're talking foundation, you're talking electrical work, pipes and whatever. And I mean, we're doing well, but it's a lot more staying on top of it. It's you have a lot more delays. It's just more pieces moving, right? So now, the stuff that we wholesale, and that's what we do really. We'll come in, we're front and center in every deal that we comes across our way. And we're front and center. We pick and choose. If it's something that's going to give us 50K plus of profit, we'll probably wholesale it. So the requirements are simple: 50K plus in profit. And then we're putting less than $30,000 into it, depending on the type of property. So it's not super expensive stuff. It's not, it's medium pricing, kind of stuff. And we hit, we go for volume.
And you're in and out.
Those are easy. Yeah, we'll take it down. They'll take us, maybe a month and a half since we began from where we exit the deal, because right now, marketing, the marketing process that we have in the brokerage, the average is properties will stay on the market for maybe 3 days, and then we have them under contract. If not, they have them under contract sooner. So they move quick, right? But if you price them right, if you do something like that, you can really ramp up and go from a $10,000 assignment, $15,000, $20,000 assignment to right now, the one we're closing, I think is going to give us about 110K return on that flip.
That's great.
So this week. Yeah, but that would have been, I think that would have been probably like an $18,000 assignment or $20,000 assignment. Yeah, but it's another way to, to ramp it up. Yeah.
Totally. And part of it, it's based on how many crews you have, how many jobs you have going on right now too. Can they handle another rehab, or is this going to kick it down 3 months down the road? So a lot of it's like weighing, all right, we have time. I would love to rehab this one, but I can't because we just don't have the crews to do it right now, and that type of thing.
Yeah, man. This is important, right? Anybody listening, controlled growth. If you're jumping into it and you're closing your first flip and you killed it and you made $100,000 on that thing, do not go out there and get another 10. Get another, maybe one or two and scale it, little by little. Control growth. If you grow too fast, meaning try to bite more than you can chew, there's losses in that. It's what do you call it? It's quicksand. Really is.
Absolutely. I agree. Let's dig into that a little bit more, because I've seen this. I was part of Collective Genius and other mastermind for years. And one of the things going in there, and I used to do 100, 130 deals a year, but I was stressed doing that many deals a year. I mean, that was a ton for a one-man operation. At that point, I was acquisition, disposition, and everything. Everybody's mantra was they were trying to do 100, 200, 300. And I'm watching guys try to scale up. And mine was the complete opposite. I was like, I don't want to do this many deals. I actually want to take less profit and do bigger profits, less deals. Right. So I started scaling back.
More with less. Yeah.
So I started scaling back to the 60 to 80, but I saw a ton of guys go up, ramp up, fail, boom, out of business, bankrupt, too many people. So like to what you just said, that control growth, you do want growth, but you want to have, it's not slow incremental growth. You just want to have a nice upward trend, right? Continued growth where you can control things, because things can get out of control really, really quick when you're trying to grow too quickly.
Yeah, it's sexy, right? Doing those big numbers, it's sexy. But when you're out of business, it's not sexy anymore.
It's not sexy anymore.
And what happens? I mean, you have uncontrolled expenses. You have a couple of projects you got to go over budget, and then you get hit in the ass with excuse the French. You get hit in the butt with I don't know, an extra $50,000-$70,000 that you weren't counting on. And when you're controlling your projects and you're just gradually getting there, you're going to get to a point where you can take more and more. I mean, double them if you want, right? But don't 10x them after your first deal. You'll understand where you're at as far as capabilities once you manage and you get that team in place. I made that mistake. That's at the beginning because I got excited. I was like, oh wow, I did this with, and I think I was probably into my fourth or fifth flip where I saw profits, and I had a couple of flips behind me. Like, well, I mean, I'm an expert. I've learned, and then I went out and I bought four projects. We were working on 4 at the same time. It was just to me, it was too much. I didn't have the crew. It was me, and then I have one contractor that had a couple of guys. They're like, yeah, we can move from one house to the other. No, it doesn't work that way.
Doesn't work that way. No, I've been there, done that.
Yeah. So
I totally understand. So that happened to me too when I first got in there. As a matter of fact, going back, I started at the end of 2001, my first deal. And I was hammering away with rehabs up until the financial crisis. I had a bunch of big ones going on right around the time everything started to tank. So here I am trying to sell things off in a market where I actually had a property under contract to sell. The person lost their job. I was going to make, I think it was like $45,000 on this deal. They lost their jobs. So they couldn't qualify for their mortgage anymore. It sat for another 3 or 4 months. I ended up having to sell the thing for a $65,000 loss. So I had a bunch of these that I had losses for. I'm like, all right, you know what? Change a model. The market's different. I want to go 90% wholesaling, and I'll do 10% rehabbing. So I just did. I just flipped and changed. And, it's why it's key. You don't want to be doing everything. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket, right? You want to be somewhat diversified and constantly fluid and have some cash on hand for other deals that come up. I've learned that throughout 20 years in this business, that is for sure.
So it's important that you mentioned that, but one of the things that I emphasize the most is switching from that hustler mentality to the entrepreneur mentality, to the business owner mentality, right? As self-employed, we're hustling, we're going through the business, we're going through the actions and everything. But when we switch the mentality to that business owner mentality, it automatically becomes long-term thinking. it automatically becomes more strategic. Okay, well, what can I do that's gonna, have an exponential impact on my results? As far as hiring, bringing people in, and doing, like, you end up doing more with less, right?
Yes.
And it's that steady, controlled predictability that you can create in a business. It's totally doable. It's totally doable. It doesn't happen overnight. Yeah.
No, it doesn't. And I'll tell you, I've done my fewest amount of deals over the past 3 years that I've done in the past 15 years, but my profits are way, way more. I've made way more money doing less deals, which is great because I've had more time to do things right now and work on other little projects and things, and focus more on the coaching program as well too. So a lot of positive. Sometimes less is more, right? And sometimes more is less.
I have my philosophy or the thing is that I apply across the board, like in all my businesses and the coaching, is less business, more profits. And that's less as in lean, effective, strategic, and simple. If I can build a business that's lean, that's effective, that's strategic, and that's simple, I know people are going to follow through with whatever the KPIs are, whatever the tasks or responsibilities. It's easy to coach, train, implement, onboard, do everything, right? It's less business, more profits. So that it came to me during meditation one time, out of all places. I didn't learn it at school. I just, it hit me. But yeah, it's four pillars that really make sense: lean, effective, strategic, and simple.
Totally, it makes total sense. And keep following the KISS theory. Keep it simple, stupid, as much as possible. The more simple you make tasks for people, the more likely they're to follow through with it and complete it and be good. I mean, for all of us, for me too, right? As business owners, like when we get overwhelmed, that's when we make mistakes and screw up, right? If we're not looking back.
Exactly.
That's why I try to do a quarterly look at my business. So each quarter I'll look at what's worked in the quarter. Then when it comes to the end of the second quarter, I do a hard look. All right, what worked? Where are the trends going? What markets, because we're in multiple markets, what markets are working? Which ones aren't? What is the most profitable strategy right now? Because whatever's working, let's do that and focus on that the second half of this year and really finish strong. When we do that, we always have strong second halves because of that. It's that look back. I do that hard look back where I'll literally shut down and do nothing for a week and look at numbers and see what's working and what's not. So I think that's key for people to do. Quarterly for sure. You should even do monthly stuff, looks, if you can, but you don't always have the time to do that. But that quarterly and that mid-year one's always been a game changer for me when I do that and just focus on things. Otherwise, I'll get lost in clouds, lose, and next thing you've gone the whole year and you've killed your profits because you didn't look at what was working for you.
Well, and I mean, it helps you stay on top of the patterns, right? You start looking at patterns where you actually analyze the stuff that you've gone through. You see, okay, cool. First quarter was crazy. Last year was crazy too, but it got better in quarter two and whatnot. Why is it? Is it people are moving? For example, we have in Arizona, we have snowbirds. Snowbirds have a big impact on economy, just altogether. Yeah, exactly. So you have trends. You have seasons of different things where certain things sell better, and if you have looks like that, and I haven't done the hard look halfway through the year. We'll do quarterly meetings and then sessions. We'll do weekly sessions and whatnot, but I haven't done a hard look. I'm gonna take that from you if you don't mind.
Yeah, see if that works for you. I'm curious. Like it's works
this year. Yeah.
It's really worked so well for me. It's like, it's one of those things you just kind of shut things down. When I mean, shut your business down, but really shut what you're doing down.
Focus.
Look at everything. Yeah. So like from our perspective, so when we're buying from banks, we're buying from Chase, Wells Fargo. What are these other banks? There's a million different banks out there. Obviously, besides HUD and Fannie and Freddie and all these different things. Certain ones, when you find out what your bids are or what their asking price is, will take a lower percentage. So when we find that trend, we'll start focusing on, all right, this bank, let's focus on this bank in all these different markets and try to get the best pricing and go from there. So that's kind of like the hard look you're looking at, these trends. HUD used to have a certain specific numbers, like 51% of their original listing price within a certain period of time. You would generally get it if you bid at that number there. So we got pretty good at looking at those things and knowing what that is. And so that definitely follow your trends as much as possible, as much you can. I think that hard look basically in June, you're looking at the end of June, July, that time where everybody's taking off a 4th of July holiday, do a hard look there and see if that helps you. I'm sure it'll probably give you a pretty good idea in your coaching business as well, potentially as well,
Oh yeah. Right now, my head's going 1,000 miles an hour. Like I know where I'm gonna plug it in. I'm gonna plug it. We have scorecards and KPIs, and we track quarterly, monthly, but we don't have a 6 month period. I'm gonna plug it in right there. It's gonna be right. So evident.
The numbers are just, you just have so many more numbers with 6 months
Yeah.
when you look at it. Like that quarterly, yeah, you get numbers. You really see trends in 6 months. You start to see things at a lot deeper level than you do with the first half of the year. And then you can lead you into
and
the
you can
next.
still do something about it.
Totally.
As
You still have time,
opposed
right?
to-
Half a year. Yeah, you got plenty of time.
Yeah, close off strong.
Yeah, you don't want to do it at the end of the third quarter going into the fourth, because what happens then in the third quarter going fourth, you're getting into the holiday time and people shut down, and it's just a lot less business for you anyway. Whereas during the summertime, you could really hit it.
Actually, in real estate, I mean, we close off. I mean, it's not a hard close, but we close off our year mid-November. Like whatever came in November, I know it's the stuff that's going to be coming in before the end of the year. If you start, I mean, whatever you lock in December, late November, even
next year,
it's not, you're not going to get paid on that until the following year. So mid-November is really like the cutoff for profitability.
You're 100% right. 100% right. But this is some of the key looks, man. It's awesome conversation. I see that guitar in that background. Are you a musician?
Yeah. I've been playing guitar for years.
Nice. What's your specialty? What type of music?
I love Latin rock, man. I used to play in a Latin rock band when I was through high school and college, and I'm that guy that starts drinking, then breaks out the guitar and starts singing.
Start singing La Bamba.
Start singing La Bamba in the middle of a party, unsolicited. Yeah, I don't care.
I love it. All right. Have to get you drunk then and have your guitar there and start listening to you strum it there. That'd be fun. Maybe next mastermind, bring the guitar with.
Done. Yeah, brother.
All right. Before we close off here, I want to make sure people can get in touch with you for your coaching program. If they're interested here, look, I know you got a great coaching program. You got a great YouTube channel that you guys have. What's the best way for them to reach out to you if they want to get some coaching help here?
You can find me anywhere as Rafael Cortez, CEO. That's Rafael Cortez with a Z, CEO. My YouTube channel is Rafael Cortez CEO. Instagram, I have a Facebook group. I'm pretty active on Instagram, so if anybody needs to get a hold of me for whatever, just shoot me a DM. Also, I'm a very systematic guy when it comes to building processes and systems. So I have a blueprint for wholesaling that your audience can download if they go to REI wholesaling, reiwholesaling.com, and it's a full PDF on the 6 different stages of a wholesaling business and what's required in each one of them, whatnot. So that's reiwholesaling.com.
Perfect. We'll put that in the show notes. We'll have them load that in there and load that in the YouTube channel and everything too. That's perfect. Awesome, Rafael, man. I really, really appreciate any parting words of wisdom for anybody out there who's new and looking to get into this business. Anything you want to, say or recommend or give them the enticement to do it.
100%, man. It's what was going through my head. A lot of that procrastination or the analysis paralysis really came from not having clarity on where I wanted to head. And 2, not having clarity on what the whole process looked like. That stopped me. It stopped me for a while because I wanted to do this a couple of years before I even jumped into it. So the best piece of advice is you're gonna jump in there. Massive imperfect action is okay. Take educated risks, calculated risks as you're going through the process, but don't hold back. There's gonna be people out there, man. It's incredible the amount of people that are out there willing to help somebody.
Yeah,
that's going through the process. I mean, we see it on the mastermind all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's people out there. There's people that you can reach out to for help and guidance. If you're not paying for coaching, go to REIA, Real Estate Investor Association. There's going to be people there. Find Facebook groups. Try to find a mentor, somebody that you can work for. If you're really serious about jumping into a space like this, and you can't cut the learning curve, go work for somebody who can, teach you the ropes. I know I worked for free when I wanted to learn my stuff. And that's perfectly fine, right? It's part of the learning process.
You're paying for the education that way. Yeah.
The big thing is take action. Just take action, figure out where you want to head and take massive action on that. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just got to be moving forward every single day.
Oh God, I say that all the time. What's the difference between somebody successful and not? It's taking massive action. It's as simple as that. it's just hitting it. And then that snowball forms and you're just rolling down a hill. And then the next thing you know, you're super successful. If you just continue down that trend, it is.
Yeah, people will tell you at the beginning, people will tell you you're crazy. You're crazy. Yep. No, you're not going to do it. It's too hard. It's not for you. Fast forward a couple of years, they're going to ask you, how'd you do it? And then they're going to be asking if they can work with you.
Totally. well said. Thank you, Rafael. That's awesome. That's all. Anything else? Any books you like that have really helped you at all?
Yeah, it's my favorite book. Well, and when it comes to finding a path and direction, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It's one of my all-time favorites. It's just a really good book. There's so much to read into it. That book is solid, Paulo Coelho. And then if it's the next favorite book is Psycho-Cybernetics by Maltz.
I haven't read that one.
No, Psycho-Cybernetics. Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's just a really good book on building that sense of belief within yourself and improving the personal image, right? How you see yourself as far as capabilities, mindset, and all that. So that's a really good book. So those two.
Awesome. Hey, I really appreciate it. Really appreciate your time. Love to have you back on the show down the road here, and we'll talk more about stuff. But this was absolutely tremendous. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Anytime. Let's do it.
You've been listening to Flipping Out with Paul Ezell, the #1 success platform for virtual wholesalers. Visit our website, thevirtualinvestor.co, for more information about how you can leverage virtual wholesaling to take control of your time, enjoy financial freedom, and live life the way you've always wanted to. Join us again next time for another informative discussion right at your fingertips.